Hi guys, and welcome to my tips and tricks video for Wintermoor Tactics Club. So this video is going to be focused mainly on the early part of the game, before you recruit other characters, but it'll certainly be relevant all the way throughout the rest of the game into the late game. So before I begin, please hit the subscribe button below so you'll be notified of any future videos coming out. So without further ado, let's get into the top tips and tricks. I know that this game is very text heavy, but if you're watching this video, then you most likely already know that. So just do the optional side quests. And the reason for doing them, aside from the fact that you love the characters, is because you often get some very good rewards to equip on your Curses and Catacombs characters. And these rewards can be the difference between just scraping by in battle or winning with style. So for your own peace of mind, do the side quests. The combat in Wintermoor Tactics isn't as complex or in-depth as something like Final Fantasy Tactics. With that in mind, you'll notice the omission of a very important character class in other tactics genres, namely, the healer. Since you can't heal, you'll have to think tactically. One of the simple ways of doing this is using ranged units like Unravel to deal damage at a distance. By the time your enemies actually make it to your characters, they should be very low on health, and taking them out should be simple enough. Early on in the game, one of your fellow teammates suggests spying on the other teams you'll be competing against in the competition. Do this.
Do it.
Like, seriously, why would you not? You get some decent bonuses during the battles against these teams, and unless you're actively going for a punishingly hard playthrough, just take the easy win. DPS is a term from online games, and it means damage per second. Essentially, each second, or turn in this game, you and the enemies can dish out a certain amount of damage. If there are more enemies than player characters, then they, in total, can dish out more damage to you than you can to them. Ergo, you're more likely to be KO'd and lose. If, however, you're able to reduce the number of attackers against you, by sniping off weaker enemies early on, for example, then this drastically reduces the amount of damage that the enemy can do against you. Now, early on in the game, this will mean prioritizing weaker enemies that are closer to you, rather than stronger, tankier ones that you can possibly outpace. Remember that this is an early to mid-game tactic, as the enemy types do change up towards the end game, where you'll need to employ a combination of DPS reduction and focused fire to take out bigger units. I have to give a shout out to Sun Tzu for this one, but in battles where you think the enemies have an advantage, use the terrain. You'll find several of the map encounters have bottlenecks or plug points. This is places where characters can only move in a single file. Getting the enemy to line up in places like this make for excellent avenues to control the number of enemies coming at you. Consider also ditches and rocks. Because a character can't move over these tiles, they have to go around them. This can use up precious movement and even make it so that an enemy's attack tile is outside of the range of your characters. There are ways to even navigate around some of these. Rogue's shove and grappling hook attacks, for example, are excellent at displacing enemies and moving them to the tiles that you want them to be on. At a certain point in the game, you'll be allowed to choose where to deploy your units within a set range of tiles. Consider this deeply, as a battle can be won or lost simply based on where and how you set up your units during the opening phase. On the one hand, you might think it's sensible to deploy your ranged units further back and your tank out front, but that's not always the best idea. In some cases, doing so might mean your units have further to travel, when the best move is in fact positioning right up in the enemy's face and closing the distance as quickly as possible. As you start to get the hang of the combat system, and taking out enemies becomes easier, you might get tunnel vision and think yourself the grand strategist Zhuge Liang with all these knowledge bombs that I've been dropping on you. I will remind you that you are no Zhuge Liang. With that said, a very easy thing to overlook in combat is which of your characters an enemy is targeting. This is a very simple thing to check by right-clicking on an enemy and seeing which of your characters the enemy is targeting. And the reason you want to remember to do this is because it'll better help you set an order of whom to attack first while there are multiple tricky opponents on the field. So that's it for this video, folks. If you've made it this far and you'd like to see more of these tips in action, then I've included a link to my Wintermoor Let's Play series just here. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, then please hit the like button so the algorithm boosts this up the charts. Thanks folks, and have fun playing Wintermoor Tactics Club.